first rule in investment is don't lose. And the second rule in investment is don't forget the first rule, and that's all the rules there are. It's a temperamental quality, not an intellectual quality. You don't need tons of IQ in this business. I mean, you have to have enough IQ to get from here to downtown Omaha, but you do not have to be able to play three-dimensional chess or be in the top leagues in terms of bridge playing or something of the sort. You need a stable personality. You need a temperament that neither derives great pleasure from being with the crowd or against the crowd, because this is not a business where you take polls. It's a business where you think. Certainly most of the professional investors focus on what the stock is likely to do in the next year or two, and they have all kinds of arcane methods of approaching that, but they do not really think of themselves as owning a piece of a business. The real test of whether you're investing from a value standpoint or not is whether you care whether the stock market is open tomorrow. If you're making a good investment in a security, it shouldn't bother you if they close down the stock market for 5 years. All the ticker tells me is the price. And I can look at the price occasionally to see whether the price is outlandishly cheap or outlandishly high. But prices don't tell me anything about a business. Business figures themselves tell me something about a business, but the price of a stock doesn't tell me anything about a business. I would rather value a stock or a business first and not even know the price, so that I'm not influenced by the price in establishing my valuation, and then look at the price later to see whether it's way out of line with what my value is.
There is nothing about the price action of the stock that tells you whether you should keep owning. What tells you whether you should keep owning it is what you expect the company to do in the future versus the price at which it's selling now, compared to the other opportunities of businesses that you think you know equally well, and make that same comparison. A very high percentage of the time, stocks are in what I call a zone of reasonableness. This is not something, we all know that pi is 3.14159, and little kids can sometimes give it out to hundreds of decimal places. But the stock market's not like that. There's a range of reasonableness, and most of the time throughout my lifetime, it's sold in the range of reasonable. That range changes over time as earnings accumulate, interest rates change, and all that sort of thing. There's only been about 5 times in my life, I think, that I've actually spoken out publicly to say it was outside the range in one direction or another. The most recent one being in October. I was early in October of 2008, and I said stocks were cheap, and I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. But I'll probably have some chance, once every 5 or 10 years to make a definitive statement. There is a big zone of reasonableness. Anybody thinks they can pinpoint it is crazy. It's not that precise. And fortunately, you don't need to. If you buy good businesses at reasonable prices and hold them, you're going to make a lot of money. And that's true of stocks as a group. It's true of individual companies. I love it when the things we buy go down. I get euphoric. Stocks are down today, and I'm buying more of something I was buying yesterday. I'm buying it cheaper. Now, when you go to the grocery store and you buy something cheaper than you bought it the day before, you think that's terrific. But people with their stocks, they think that the stock knows more than they do. So that when the stock goes down, they say the stock is telling them something. And what's telling me is I can get more for my money. but they take it as kind of a referendum on themselves, and it's me versus the stock. If it ever gets back to what I paid, I'm going to sell it. Stock doesn't care what you paid. You have to remember, the stock doesn't even care that you own it. You are nothing to the stock. That stock is everything to you, And you remember you paid $10.13, and therefore the stock should get to $10.13 before you sell it. The stock has no feelings about you. And so the only question with every stock, every day, and you don't do it this frequently, is, can I get more for my money someplace else? You've got a chance to be in thousands and thousands of great businesses, and their prices change all the time, so their relative valuations change. And you can make the exchange at very low cost these days. Commissions are nothing. And so you can always shift from one business to another. You can rearrange your business empire, which you own through that little portfolio that you have. You can rearrange that, at a moment's notice with practically no cost. It's a huge advantage, which people turn into a disadvantage. You have more potential than you thought you had 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You certainly have more potential than your parents thought you had.